Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Appreciate you joining me today. I want to start by going over the Tyreek Hill trade, the news that took over Wednesday, just another massive NFL move on just another random day in the offseason. Tyreek Hill is going from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins, and another massive, massive move that continues to reshape and restructure what is a crazy AFC West. I think that was what was so surprising on the surface about this move is the fact that you have the Chargers and the Broncos and the Raiders who are supercharging their teams with just about every possible player known to man, whether it's Davante Adams or Russell Wilson, Khalil Mack. Like, you get the picture. These teams are doing everything they can to load their rosters up. Now all of a sudden you have the Chiefs moving on from Tyreek Hill. And I think the first thing I want to talk about here is that Chiefs offense. And I think why, again, this is so surprising. That triforce of amazingness of Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce just felt so right and so amazing and so incredible to watch. It was a true video game trio. You've got the insane quarterback who is so mobile, can run around everywhere, the laser rocket arm in Andy Reid's offense with a power forward, physical, athletic tight end, and a wide receiver who is a living, breathing cheat code who can get anywhere on the field, can juke anyone, can go from 0 to 100 in a millisecond, and take it to the house on any given play. That was the crux of their video game offense. And to take away a major piece of that in Tyreek Hill and move him to Miami, it just feels like something is missing from that offense, and it doesn't feel quite the same. And it almost felt like, and I know it's not completely this, they've had Chris Jones, they've had Honey Badger, they've had some really good other players on this team, but it just felt like Tyreek and Mahomes and Kelce were the multiplier, right? The force multiplier for everything that team was able to do. It felt like they could put up 60 points at any given moment, and that you had to go out and score a ton of points, which made things a little bit, it just tipped the scales in the favor of Kansas City. You were more aggressive. They knew it. They were able to pass rush more, made defense easier for Kansas City. Again, made it nearly impossible to defend everyone on their roster because you couldn't, double Hill and Kelce at the same. It was just a nightmare to defend, and it made everything so much better. And the reason that offense was so incredibly successful over the last, quarter, 3, 4, 5 years with Patrick Mahomes at the helm at quarterback. So Tyreek Hill moves on. Now, from a Miami standpoint, love the duo of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I mean, that is another, just two video game players on the same offense. You had a Mike Gesicki, and overall they become really fun. Now the big question is, all right, what can Tua or maybe eventually Bridgewater do with those, those weapons? I think the first thing you think of is like, these are deep threats down the field, and are these quarterbacks going to be able to accurately get them the ball in these, scenarios and situations? However, you could also look at it as, all right, these are going to be more accurate quarterbacks in the short and intermediate area. And now you've got two guys that you can get the ball in their hands at any point in the field, and they can still take it to the house. So be a really interesting trade for Miami. As I mentioned, it's tough not to see Kansas City get worse in this scenario while everyone else in the AFC West gets better. But you might already be thinking, all right, Andy, you just talked about Davante Adams and how that was a potential win for Green Bay, picking up a first and a second round pick and a bunch of cap space, and, in exchange for Davante Adams. How is it any different from Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins, picking up a first and second and other picks and a bunch of cap space? Isn't that a good move for the Chiefs too? Yeah, I don't feel all that differently about it. And trust me, I would love to see Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams together. I would love to see Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill still together. Those teams are better off with those tandems, if you will. But I understand the philosophy of it, and I think Kansas City will have the ability to add weapons still, add ammunition. They have a ton of draft picks, and now it's up to the respective general managers in Green Bay and Kansas City to make the most of that cap space, to make the most of those draft picks, and try to get their two teams to the Super Bowl. There's no perfect philosophy here. I think both teams did a good job in maximizing the value and not giving, wide receivers that are probably at least close to past their prime massive deals and not getting as much ROI in return as you possibly could. I give GMs credit in that situation. However, you have to follow it up. whether it's Gutekunst, whether it's KC, like they have to take those picks and that money and use it as wisely as possible, hit on draft picks, hit on free agents, and rebuild your roster a little bit, including at that wide receiver position. Now, the interesting aspect of this is, of course, and what everyone wanted to talk about is, did KC get way more, for Tyreek Hill than the Packers did for Davante Adams? Interestingly enough, I actually think the Green Bay and Davante trade set up this trade to happen in a couple different ways. The compensation and what Green Bay got in return, I believe, was really the starting point in negotiations for both teams, right? For the Dolphins and the Chiefs. And then secondly, I think Davante setting the market as the highest paid wide receiver made it, very easily recognizable for what KC was going to have to give Davante Adams. So I think the Raiders resetting the market actually may have helped push Tyreek Hill out of the division, which is like a double bonus for the Raiders. And then again, I think KC may have seen what Green Bay got for Adams and said, okay, if they're willing to move on from Davante and pick up a first and second round pick and use salary cap space, maybe we're willing to do the same thing. Maybe they were already going to do a similar trade. Who the heck knows? But the fact that the outcome of these two trades, both in contracts that were signed as well as compensation and draft capital, were so similar, it leads me to believe that Green Bay's Davante Adams trade was at least very close to mind for both, again, the Dolphins and the Chiefs. Now, again, what everyone from a Packers standpoint wants to talk about is, was this deal similar, or did Kansas City get a way better deal than what Green Bay got? Now, we'll look at the trade value charts in just a moment, but I think what throws people off, first of all, is the fact that they hear, all right, Green Bay got a first and a second round pick for Davante Adams. Meanwhile, the Chiefs got a first and a second round pick for Tyreek Hill, and then also a fourth rounder this year, a fourth rounder next year, and a sixth rounder next year. So clearly, Kansas City got way more. They got the same first and second round picks, and then a fourth, and a sixth on top of that. KC, clear winner of the deal. Well, it's never really quite that simple, is it? And we need to look at the actual compensation that each team got. The Packers received pick 22 in the first round. The Chiefs got pick 29 in the first round. That 7 spots may not seem like that much on the surface, but in trade value terms, that is a huge deal. And most teams are going to put a ton of value on their first round pick, and moving up those given slots is a huge value. I can't understate that or overstate that enough. Like, that is the reason that these trades are similar. Now, the Chiefs are actually picking 3 spots higher or earlier in the second round. They get pick 50. Green Bay got pick 53. They got a pick 121 this year, a fourth round pick, and then a future fourth and a future sixth. So, yes, on the surface, it probably looks a lot like Kansas City got the better end of this deal. However, we don't have to go back that far. We can go back to 2019 and look at a pick 22 trade that happened between the Ravens and the Eagles. Pick 22 was traded for pick 25 in that draft. So they moved down 3 spots to pick 25. And guess what they picked up in that deal? Ravens, Eagles, 2019, 22 to 25. They picked up a 4th and a 6th round pick. All right, so that takes care of 2 of those deals. I can guarantee you, if you go from pick 25 to pick 29, you're going to get at minimum a 4th round pick for that as well. Guess what? You're basically back to even, other than the fact that the Chiefs are picking at pick 50 and the Packers are picking at 53. And maybe, again, you pick up more draft capital than just the 4th rounder on that second move. Maybe you get a 4th and a 6th. Maybe you get a 4th and something else. Who knows? But either way, just even looking at that one trade, going from pick 22 to 25, picking up a 4th and a 6th round pick in that exchange, gets you 1,000,000% closer, and you're still picking at pick 25 instead of pick 29, 4 spots higher than the Chiefs in the first round, which again has a ton of value. So again, we don't have to even look at the trade value charts. We can literally look at trades that happened to see that, all right, the deal wasn't that far off in what Green Bay and Kansas City were able to actually get in the trades. Before we look at the 4 trade value charts, there's one other thing that I want to mention here. A draft pick this year is worth more than a draft pick next year. So while it is a 4th and a 6th round pick that Kansas City gets next year, that's basically like a 5th and a 7th round pick next year. If you were to trade a 5th round pick this year, you would likely get a 4th round pick next year. If you were to trade a 7th round pick this year, you would likely get a 6th round pick next year. You can go back and look at a multitude of historical trades that happened. It is usually 1 round worse. So it's actually like getting for Kansas City this season, it's actually like getting the first round, the second round, the fourth round, and then a fifth and a seventh round pick this year. That is the better way to look at it as of right now. So there are 4 trade value charts that we need to look at: Rich Hill, Jimmy Johnson, over the cap, and the Harvard trade chart. Those are 4 different ones that are in play. All right. I won't bore you with all the mathematics because I don't think that's fun for anyone. But if you look at the Rich Hill chart and take into consideration that the 4th and 6th round pick next year is like a 5th and a 7th round pick this year, and basically like give them a middle 5th and 7th round pick this year, the value for just this year, according to the Rich Hill chart, the Packers get 359 points. The Chiefs get 356 points. The Packers win that one by 3 points total. Even if you give the other picks and count it as a 4th and a 6th, it's not that different. You're basically in the same exact ballpark. The one that Jimmy Johnson put together that teams still use, or at least have referenced in the past, gives Green Bay 1,150 points, gives Kansas City 1,123 points. So once again, Green Bay actually got the better end of that deal. Again, if you consider the 4th and 6th next year, a 5th and a 7th this year. All right. Again, even if you don't, very, very similar, very close. Now, on the other hand, over the cap and the Harvard trade charts, which take into a little bit more of like historical calculations of the value of each pick and what it means, both of them massively give victories to the Kansas City Chiefs. Over the cap gives 2,422 points to the Packers, 3,547 points to the Chiefs. Harvard gives 375 points to the Packers, 531 points to the Chiefs. So if you're looking at over the cap in Harvard, Chiefs won this easily. If you look at Rich Hill and Jimmy Johnson, which are more aligned with what teams actually do when they trade picks, those ones basically break even or give a slight advantage to Green Bay or a slight advantage to KC, depending on how you look at the future 4th and 6th round picks. But either way, if you look at deals that have actually happened and the Rich Hill and Jimmy Johnson chart, which are ones that are more often used by NFL teams, the value is almost identical. So if you value the 4th and the 6th round picks more, so be it. I can't tell you how ridiculously close that these 2 deals were in this situation. And it's also worth noting here, Tyreek Hill actually younger by over a year than Davante Adams, and there were 2 teams bidding for Tyreek Hill in this situation, so they were able to work. Both the Dolphins and the Jets in this situation will also happen to be in the same division. So that goes, that helped them as well, whereas Green Bay was just negotiating with Las Vegas. Either way, the difference was negligible. Now, there are fallouts from this trade as well. The biggest one right off the bat is the Chiefs are hosting MVS for a free agent visit. Now, it's been reported by multiple outlets that the Packers are still very interested in MVS. So this could be a problem for that specific negotiation. And MVS would make a ton of sense in Kansas City filling that speed role. Is he the same as Tyreek Hill? He certainly is not. But he would be a very nice piece with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, at wide receiver in KC. So this could theoretically cost the Packers MVS. If you want to view that as for better or worse, that is your prerogative. But that is maybe the first domino that falls here, is that again, MVS could go to KC and Green Bay could lose out on his services because of that. Another opportunity here is with Hill going to Miami, does that make a Davante Parker available in Miami? Could Green Bay be interested in him? So there's some interesting dominoes there as well. I know a lot of people were also asking, should Green Bay be now afraid of Kansas City? Kansas City has all this draft ammunition, and guess what they need now? Wide receivers. Guess what Green Bay needs? Wide receivers. And now you've got this competition, right? Okay, sure, maybe you have another team now that's near you in draft picks that has a ton of capital to move up that could be interested in moving up for a wide receiver. That could be problematic. There's picks that I'm sure Kansas City could move up to right ahead of Green Bay, draft a wide receiver, and maybe that's the guy that Green Bay wanted. Could happen. Frankly, I think that could happen at to any team at any time. It's just the nature of the game, right? But what I will say is this. While the Chiefs have a ton of draft capital, where Green Bay is selecting in the early rounds, they just have better opportunities to actually more screw over the Chiefs than the Chiefs screwing over the Packers. Packers have picks 22 and 28 in the first round. Chiefs have picked 29 and 30. Then, as I mentioned, the Chiefs have 3 picks higher in the second round, pick 50, whereas Green Bay has 53. But then it reverses. Green Bay has pick 59, 3 picks ahead of the Chiefs at pick 62. In the third round, their next pick, the Packers have pick 92, the Chiefs have pick 94. So their first 5 picks in the draft, Green Bay has 4 higher than the Chiefs. The Chiefs have 1 higher than Green Bay. So yes, both teams have ammunition. If either team wants to go up and get a receiver, they can. Could Kansas City swoop in and, 1 or 2 picks ahead of Green Bay and take a wide receiver? They certainly could. But Green Bay could, if Green Bay identifies a wide receiver that they want, they have more than enough ammunition to move up and get them and have better picks than KC in 4 of their 5 first picks in this draft. So not super concerned in that regards. Also, the other thing to remember here, yes, KC very much is probably wanting a receiver in the draft. However, if they go out and get a wide receiver like an MVS, they have MVS, McCole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Josh Gordon, and Travis Kelce. They're okay. They're not in this must-have wide receiver in the first round situation. Green Bay, meanwhile, at this moment, has Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, Amari Rodgers, Juwan Winfrey maybe, Josiah DeGuara as their top tight end until Tunyon comes back. Not quite the same as what KC's working with. Again, especially if KC gets MVS. Now, Green Bay gets MVS and KC doesn't. That maybe changes things as well. But as we sit here today, Kansas City has a bit of a leg up on Green Bay in regards to weapons on offense. Last but not least, the other thing I wanted to discuss today was Razul Douglas's contract. We knew it was a 3-year, $21 million deal. We got a bit more specifics. He's going to make about $3.3 million against the salary cap this year, going to make about $6.8 million against the salary cap the year after that. And then basically it's a dead year after that where he's going to get paid about $1.77 million in bonus money when he's probably not on the team. Now, they could work out a restructure next year. He could get another extension. All those things are in play. But what this equates to is basically a 2-year, $11.9 million deal, almost 2-year, $12 million deal, averaging about $6 million per year, where he gets 3.3 this year, 6.8 next year, and then 1.8 in dead cap in year 3. Not too bad for a corner that was super successful for you a season ago and should be able to help you be successful in the defensive backfield once again this season. Thank you so much for joining me. I always appreciate it. I'll be right back here with an all-new episode. Who knows what's going to happen on Thursday? Hey, who knows? Tyrann Mathieu could sign, maybe a Julio Jones. I'm not saying with the Packers, just in general. Maybe Baker Mayfield finally gets, the NFL is just crazy, beyond crazy every day. It's something new. Can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. If there is something, I'll be back to discuss it. Make sure to subscribe and check it out 365 days a year. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.